So where we have taken many of our customers is down the virtualization journey around the compute, and where SDDC really rounds out the full cloud done right, if you will, is to bring the network components, the storage components, as well as the surrounding ecosystem of security, compliance, all of those aspects.
Right.
So that's great. So, you spoke of where customers are today. When I go in and meet with customers, a lot of times they're asking, well, okay, what can we do today? How can we actually make this journey, take the first steps towards getting to SDDC? So what's the guidance that you're giving to our customers?
So first off, we have to understand what the customer's requirements are for SDDC. In some cases, a full-blown SDDC environment isn't really what's necessary for their business needs. In other cases, it's absolutely a necessity. So the first step is to understand how far down that path I need to go in terms of software-defined data center. And how am I being affected by outside resources or interactions such as public cloud environments? Do I need to match a public cloud service infrastructure? Once we're able to establish where they would like to go, then it's a matter of understanding their infrastructure and how far down the path they are today. In some cases, they're not very far down the path, and there's a lot of work required to get to that final goal. And keep in mind, the SDDC goal should be something that's dictated by the business.
Right.
However, the feasibility of the infrastructure and the technology to get there is a technology-based decision and process. You've also got the people and process components that have to be revised in order to work in this new world infrastructure. So step one is understanding what your goal is and understanding where you currently are in reference to that goal. And then you take a look at, from a virtualization perspective, where have I gone to date? Have we been successful virtualizing servers? Are we 30% virtualized today, or are we 80% virtualized? Have we been able to leverage a lot of automation in our environment already? What pieces and parts have we done really well that we can leverage into this next data center of the future, so to speak? Understanding those components is going to play a big role on where we start.
Right.
And so from VMware's perspective, obviously we have virtualization wrapped up pretty tightly. We've made key investments in networking and storage, and we believe we're going to be able to provide software definition around just about every component within your data center. Once we understand the maturity level and the ability for the organization to transform into a greater server virtualization, cloud, and moving towards SDDC, the next two obvious places to take a look are networking and storage. So you have to understand from a networking and storage perspective where your boundaries are. And I like to consider the data center as a large circle, and the limits of the circle represent 100% of your data center. Now within that data center, I've got another circle that is server virtualization that has also expanded to a certain point. Maybe it's 80% of the grand circle. Now when we look at networking, today in most environments it's probably somewhere around 10%, and that's only because the work I've done in the server virtualization by default imposes a networking virtualization component. So I like to encourage customers to take a look at where their boundaries are, or the edges are of each circle within that data center, and understand which components can then be moved to a virtual infrastructure.
Right.
Right. So when I look at networking, for example, I've got basic networking and a virtualization infrastructure, but those are connected to edge switches, which don't do much. There's very little intelligence in there. So am I able to start eliminating edge switches and expand that bubble or that circle out a little further? It's not about doing it all at once and dropping it in place and all of a sudden I have software-defined data center. It's about understanding my endpoints and understanding how I can drive virtualization and software definition into all the key components within all of my endpoints, and it's much more than simply server, network, and storage.